Hello everyone, welcome to CMO Chats. My name is Victoria and I am the Vice President of Marketing Communications for JCB International Europe.
Welcome, Victoria. Who are you? Can you tell us a bit more about your journey and what sparked your interest in marketing?
Honestly, my career has not been that linear. My first foray into marketing was working for a sales promotion agency in London, in Kensington, for those who know the area. And I was 19, coming out of college. It was probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. Our clients were either in the alcohol sector, in the kind of confectionery sector, any kind of FMCG products. And so at any given time, we had a cupboard full of lots of goodies that we loved. And our campaigns were regional, and we'd go into pubs, clubs, restaurants, and we'd have all these like great campaigns and great learnings. That lasted about 3 or 4 years, and I got the travel bug. And I came back and I thought, what do I want to do? And I tried a few roles, and I ended up temping for 2 weeks for this amazing woman who was then head of brand at my previous company. And 2 weeks turned into 5 months, into 5 years, then 12 years. And that was my role into marketing. So I've always worked in financial services marketing in different kind of regions and different groups and different expertise. But that is my foray into marketing. Not so linear, but definitely financial services is where my niche is.
Fantastic. That sounds great. And I love the goodies that you have. That sounds like a perfect job, to be honest.
Yeah, I probably have was going to sort of not be very healthy in my later life, I think, if I continued there.
No, it sounds absolutely fantastic. Now, what does your company do?
Oh, okay. So JCB is one of 6 global payment networks globally. We are in the financial services sector and specifically in payments. So JCB is headquartered in Japan, and we are both card issuer to consumers and we are merchant acquirers. So generally where that customer will want to spend their cards, so it could be a luxury retailer, hotel, airline, etc. So our role is to make sure that when our customers want to travel anywhere in the globe, they're able to use their card. So our organization is related to payments, so the consumer, the retailer, and the processing of those things.
Perfect. Thank you so much for explaining that. As the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at JCB, what is currently your main marketing focus?
So I think it's important to bring you on a bit of a journey, because I think context is really king in these types of questions. So I was the first hire at JCB Europe from a marketing perspective, and it took me a little bit of time to do my orientation. So I had to really immerse myself into who were our customers, who was our target, what type of organization did we work in, how do we build a marketing strategy. So I began by really thinking through what that orientation looks like. And I developed a marketing strategy. I started to build a team. I brought in an agency roster and some of the kind of marketing stack that we need. But the biggest learning in that orientation is that whilst we are a very recognizable brand in Asia, people know who we are, we don't have the same resonance in Europe. So brand building activities is really where my focus for the last 4 years has been, and definitely currently is now. 70% of my budget goes into brand building activities. And so the current focus, and it probably will remain for the next few years as well, is making sure that we have the right resources in place to sort of build on those brand activities. So yeah, that's, I guess, where my main priority lies right now. It's where my main budget is being invested in.
All right, fantastic. Can you tell me about a particularly innovative or successful marketing campaign your team has recently executed?
With the orientation that we had and with the research that we did, and despite all of the micro challenges that we're facing, our organization invested into building a very specific advertising campaign for our target audience here in Europe. And I must explain that my role is actually just European, it's not a global role. And so the ethos of Japanese customer centricity is called omotenashi. And our campaign is very much based on those principles. So it's not a new principle, it's just a different way of articulating that. So our current brand campaign is called Better with Omotenashi. And I think the reason why is particularly innovative for us is because we've done a number of things. First of all, it is the first brand campaign that we have rolled out in Europe, but it has a modern twist. So we did benchmarking against all of our other competitors, and we're not using people in our kind of images. We're actually using illustration. We've partnered with a very famous illustrator to emulate the Japanese strokes and have really beautiful imagery in our kind of advertising. And for us, it's important because it is a digital campaign, first of all. So when we first started with our metrics, we thought it would do well, but actually it's done 10 times better than we thought. So we're constantly pivoting tactics to learn from the data. But I think even we were surprised at how well received it's been. And the reason I think it's particularly successful is because it was curated with and for our target audience. So nothing goes out that door until our customers see it. So if they understand it and they resonate it, and bear in mind that because we work across regionally, sometimes something might work in the UK that doesn't work in Germany or Austria or Italy or Spain. So we're having to constantly think through all of that. So our campaign has to transcend those values across the region. So that's the most recent campaign that we've delivered and that's doing really well for us.
It's very interesting. I did see that on your LinkedIn profile, Better with Omotenashi, and I was wondering what it actually meant and what was behind that. So thank you for explaining that. That makes a lot more sense now. What are your biggest marketing challenges at the moment?
Oh, I don't think I'm unique, darling, and probably saying that we're all a bit worried, aren't we? My biggest concerns is we have a very small team and there's a lot on their plate. So my first concern is to make sure that they're okay with the work that we have to do. There's a lot of work that we have to do. So we've got to prioritize and sometimes we have to say no to certain things. So I have to make sure that we're focused and that we're working with our agencies to really build that internal focus. So my immediate priority is my team and making sure that we're okay. But from a big ticket item, there are a few kind of challenges working for a global company that's been in business for around 60 years. And top of that list is digital transformation, if I'm honest. We have a lot of legacy systems and we have to bring in that change. And do we have the right people to do that change? Do we have the right kind of, tech stack to do that? Even some of those little changes. So some of that prioritization sits with me and we are the change agents for that digital transformation. So I have to, again, look at my team's resources and making sure that we're able to do that. So that's top of the list. And I think probably more importantly than that is the articulation and the measurements and efficacy of what we do. We do have a responsibility to be able to translate back what we've learned, how we've learned it, why we've done it back into the business and the outcome that brings. So for us, it's been a bit of a journey, if I'm honest, because not everyone has the same aptitude. We're working as a global company. We've got to bring different stakeholders together. So how we message certain things to different groups is pivotal, to be honest, to us, and making sure that the measurements that they want to hear is relevant to the way that we want to message that. So translating that back to the business is always a challenge, and making sure that, again, we've got the right platforms to be able to do that and bringing one source of truth, because our data sits in many different places. So we're able to sort of build that together. And that's taken a little bit of time.
I bet. How does JCB stay ahead of its competitors in terms of marketing?
Having worked in various organizations, I think it's a number of things. First of all, I will say that because there are 6 global networks in the kind of the world, we actually partner a lot of the times together. So we're not necessarily natural competitors in that sense. We build together. So we might work in the States or in Australasia, building a sort of either a merchant community or a consumer community. So in that sense, we partner very well together. But when it comes to obviously differentiation, so why would you work with one organization versus another? I think that's where our role is a little bit different. So because we are Japanese headquartered and we've been established for around 60 years and we do both issuing and acquiring, when we speak to our partners in Europe specifically, the richness of the Asian consumer is what they want, right? They want to welcome back that spend post-COVID. So our role is to be able to articulate that value story to our retailer and to our bank acquirer audience. So what does a Taiwanese card member, what product do they have? What's their average transaction value? What insights can we bring to them? So that's one way that we do that. And we've got around 160 million card members. So the base is diverse, and that's one way we do that. There's obviously a lot of products and services that are linked back to that are differentiated across different markets as well. But But I will say for me, because my role is B2B, is being intrinsically aligned with a commercial organization. There's not that many organizations that do that well. And from day one, I made sure that we brought people into that journey. So when we look at things like, for example, what's the messaging that we want to tell our external audience? I call it marketing. Sales and marketing alignment. So we build case studies, infographics, we share it with the teams, we get them to buy into the story, and because they are a main distribution channel for us, they need to be able to articulate the brand story. So we've made them into individual storytellers, if you like. So I think that's another way that we particularly differentiate. And through our brand positioning, one of the key tenets was that we're really great at building relationships, and it's important for us to continue to evolve that. And I think the third one that I mentioned before is the Omotenashi campaign. From a marketing perspective, we do not use people in our imagery, we use illustrations, and it does make you stop in your tracks. So that kind of benchmarking that we did, pivotal. So those, I say, were the probably three biggest things that we do in Europe that kind of support that story and that evolution.
Very interesting. Is there a reason you don't use people?
Because everyone else does. So if we want to be differentiated, and yeah, we did a benchmarking exercise with all financial services companies, and blue is a color that comes up with probably most financial services organizations that and if we want to differentiate, we should not use that color. For example, people on beaches, laughing in cafes or whatever, different types of things. So again, if you want to be different in a crowded market, you need to think differently, and that's where we thought that. And because we have a Japanese heritage, we wanted to bring that Asian flavor into what we do in Europe. So again, that illustration kind of really shows that.
Wonderful. Thank you. In your opinion, what does the future of marketing look like?
When I saw that question, I loved it. I was like, we're in it. We are actually in the future right now with AI. I know everyone talks about it, and I think really we are just scratching the surface of that. From our perspective, the thing that I think AI will do really well is process efficiency, and especially with teams like us that are quite nimble, it will help us kind of prioritize some of those things. From a B2B perspective, the other thing that I've seen from a channel perspective and content is video. Video's just gone up. I mean, our results with video are staggering, and I'm always kind of really surprised and pleasantly surprised at how well that's doing. And it's not necessarily part of our channel strategy 2 years ago, but it definitely is now. And because I think we've suffered in B2B marketing as the boring guys, or the niche guys, or the whatever. B2B is half the economy. And I think that we haven't done ourselves the best justice when it comes to creative storytelling. Watch this space. It will be the B2B decade, because I'm now starting to see real creativity kind of in that space.
Great. Thank you. If you could describe the role of the CMO in one word, what would that word be and why?
They're an alchemist, aren't they? Let's face it. It's the mix of science and creativity, problem solving creatively. It's the emotional connection to the customer. It's taking calculated risks and experimenting. I'm constantly pivoting tactics, and I'm pretty sure that chief marketing officers are as well. They bring that kind of holistic integration with the kind of the 4 Ps, and that kind of learning from the data. Like I said, the sort of the scientific aspect of it, if you like, but it's all to bring better business outcomes. And I think the thing that underpins the alchemy is that storytelling piece. They've got to be great at articulating what they do and bringing that kind of generation of marketers behind them and their organization. So I think alchemist is the word that I would use.
I have to say, this is my favorite question, because we always get so many wonderful answers. And alchemist, I haven't heard before, and I love that. And I find that extremely intriguing. So thank you for that.
No problem.
My last question now, what career advice would you give to other upcoming marketing leaders?
Across your career, you'll be given lots of different advice. And I think the one that's always really stuck with me, and it's one that I always talk about, is to have courage in your conviction. We have so many obstacles thrown at us. And I think if you're able to articulate your why, then you're absolutely winning. So have courage, your conviction. Don't let the no sidetrack you and think, why? Let that fuel your passion, and then have courage in the thing that you want to get to. And I feel that will help any marketer or anyone really in whatever role they're in.